The Relatable Rakyat podcast. Be relatable. Stay relatable.
Welcome to the 5th episode of Relatable Rakyat. I'm today without my co-partner, Imran, again for second week in a row. But today we have a very, very special guest, Miss Jin Ai.
Hi.
So we just met like a few minutes ago.
Yeah, for the first time, physically.
Physically, for the first time, we connected through Threads,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Are you like a Threads fan?
I am actually. I kind of like the vibe on Threads more than on X.
Oh,
right?
at Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter. But yeah, I've been on Threads a lot more. The algorithm seems to agree with me much more. Like it sends me, posts and things like that I'm much more interested in than on X.
Yeah, I feel that. So, I mean, I used to use Twitter back then, but now it's just descended into like a very right-wing thingy.
Yeah, and like it feels very hostile. Like everyone's there to like pick a fight, like cari pasal, like cari gaduh, and I'm like, not so I'm into lah, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you use the other one? It's called what? Blue Note? Is it Blue?
Oh, never heard of that.
Oh. So actually, the founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, he created another app which is similar to Twitter. I think it's called Blue Note, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So I heard that it's not as hostile as Twitter or X, maybe quite similar to Threads, but I haven't used it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting because I feel like Threads is like a very communal.
Yeah.
In terms of the posting and the people there. You're actually the second person I've met through Threads.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've met another person from Threads.
Yeah.
I tried to have like a networking session.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people showed up, but there was one girl who showed up and we connected over like career talks and stuff. So it's kind of cool. So I'm glad that we met through Threads.
Yeah, so am I.
And then we connected on IG, and I was just fascinated about your life. So that's why I want to have this conversation with you. So Jean, you work for a production company called We Are Kix, and you are a producer, right?
I am, yeah.
Can you just give us a bit of insights on your life as producer? Because I think people know what producer is, but they don't know like what does a producer do.
Okay, so what I would say is that a producer's role is essentially problem solver.
Okay.
Right. On all levels, whether it's, to do with something that's management level all the way down to, Jean, what time do I need to wake up to catch my flight? Okay, all the way down to that. Because our role is there to essentially facilitate the shoot from start to finish to ensure that the final deliverable to the client or to the audience or whoever runs as smoothly as possible, whether it's budget-wise, whether it's crew up, from start to finish, that's what we're responsible for. So at Kix, it's a small team, intentionally small, and we are kind of like a bespoke, I guess you would say, or boutique house production agency, where we are very fortunate to be in a position where we can be a bit more, I would say, selective about the projects that we get involved with, because we really, really believe in wanting to work with people, collaborate with people who share the same vision as us, which is to produce something that's fun, produce something that's fresh, and something that people organically want to engage in. So yeah, I really enjoy the work that we do because we get to work with some really fun clients. Everyone we work with is really nice. We're sort of like into this thing where everyone who's involved in a project has to win. You know, that's our ethos. Like client wins because they get the message out at something that's cost effective. Obviously Kix wins, our crew wins, the talent wins, everyone has to win. Yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
What kind of production does Kix do? Is it commercial? Is it movies? Yeah, I'm not so familiar.
Yeah. So we do a whole range of stuff. We do, for example, we film music festivals, we film EDM festivals in Bangkok, in Taiwan, in Hong Kong, Singapore. We also do commercials. So, recently we did, like, for example, the launch of the second season of Squid Game.
Yeah,
with
I
Netflix.
saw that on your profile. Yeah.
So we did the filming for that launch. We also early on in last year, we did, also for Netflix, we did the launch of Avatar, the live adaptation for Netflix.
Avatar, you mean
The one with Ang.
Okay,
and
not the blue
Appa.
people
No,
Avatar.
not the blue people. I mean, it would be really cool if we could do something with James Cameron, but
Yeah.
it was the live adaptation for Netflix. We did the launch of that. And we also do like educational training videos. We do corporate videos. We don't limit ourselves to a specific genre or what have you. Basically, if it's a fun project where we get to exercise creativity, good communication with the client, and it's something that we get to create something. We're very much into creating experiences for people to engage with.
Wow.
So like one of the much earlier projects was something that was done with Hong Leong Bank,
Okay.
where there was like a pool that they filled up with oobleck, like non-Newtonian fluid, and then they had people run across this pool, cycle, like jump, that kind of thing. So it's things like that we like to, especially like to do.
I see.
Because we want people to get involved, like it's not just like walking into some space and then like you're just shooting, like filming something, we want people to like make and create and to think and to, get involved.
As a producer, do you get the chance to exercise creativity where you can maybe call the shot on how like the commercial or like the event is done? Or is it delegated to someone else?
That's actually a really good question. Actually, we do. Producers do to a certain extent, because one of our responsibilities also is to keep in mind throughout the shoot. I mean, obviously this is everyone's responsibility, but I feel like it's also specifically with the producer where, you have to keep in mind what the message the client is trying to convey or communicate, right? So sometimes creativity comes in the sense that like, okay, we want to deliver the message in this certain way, but can we do it better that still matches the message but also doesn't lose the creative vision that the director has. There's also creativity involved with, for example, problem solving. You think like what the saying is, like best laid plans, right? Like they never come to complete fruition, like no matter how meticulous you have been, something will always go wrong.
Yes, true.
And the most creative things will go wrong, like people show up to airports without their passports.
Or
like
that happened before?
People turn up to a shoot without their camera, and you're like,
oh my god, that's like a rookie mistake.
You're a shooter, like,
what? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So it's like things like that, things that you would not imagine would happen, that you take for granted. You don't need to plan for. If something goes wrong. So like there's that side of creativity too in problem solving. There's also like sometimes a client will come with a request like, hey, can we perhaps try it this way? So there's creativity involved with like, well, okay, how can we make that happen as well, within the time frame that we have, within these set of limitations, that kind of thing. So it's very creative in that sense. I would say that personally speaking, I'm not the most creative person. Like I always gonna tease from my friends. Like you're like the most basic person in the world. Like you like shop in Uniqlo lah. It's like that kind of thing. And I'm like, yes, but
I think like creativity comes from something that's within you.
Yeah,
it doesn't really reflect. It's not reflected by the way that you live sometimes. It's quite magical if you think about it.
Yeah. I guess you could say like, I reserve my creativity for specific situations.
Correct. Like, by the way, people who shop at Uniqlo, that doesn't mean they're not creative.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to dealing clients, there's situations where maybe the clients are imposing too much in terms of the vision, but that is not what is best for the product. I mean, do you deal with those kind of situation?
Okay, so on our side, our inherent belief is that actually the client knows the product the best.
Okay.
Because it's their product, right? And also we will never necessarily have an understanding of the full campaign that our video is a part of.
Yep.
So of course we will never push too much to change the messaging too much.
I see.
Right? But what our role is as a production house is to work together with the client to get a better understanding of the message that they're trying to convey, and then work with them to see how we can do it, creatively speaking. Our role isn't there to change the messaging. Our role is there to actually help the client accomplish their goal. Yeah. but creatively lah. Yeah. So like that. This is what I always, like sometimes like people will come and like that's the beauty as part of producer, right? You're just sitting there, you're like kind of like chilling, and then like someone will come up to you, and this happened to me in one of recent shoots, an international shoot. I was just sitting in the front of house, just kind of like taking a breather, and then one by one people started coming to me complaining about other people, and I was like, like person A will come, and then they will memawang and then I'll be like, oh, okay. Then they leave. Then person B will come in, and then blah 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 blah, and I'm like, oh, okay, But yeah, sorry, I
No.
I kind of like
sometimes you just gotta let it go. You have like a tough day at work, you just gotta let it go, and yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like it's. I think the corporate lingo to describe this would be stakeholder management, right? Because you're managing crew, you're managing the clients, you're managing, so it's a whole bunch of things, right? So that's essentially what our role would be within that scope. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting because, I've never really had a conversation with someone from the production house before. So
if you had this conversation a year and a half ago, you wouldn't be having a conversation with the producer either.
Oh, okay. So what were you a year ago?
I mean, I was we had discussed this briefly, right?
Yeah.
That I was in a monastery beforehand.
Yeah, we want to talk about that later.
Yeah.
Right, but it's okay.
Yeah, so like I was still actually doing work full time for the monastery. I was doing like a bit of production stuff, like on the side. But I was actually still fully like technically full time monastery staff lah, just working remotely.
I see.
Yeah.
So I think let's just get into that because that's one of the things that blew my mind when I learned about you, that you've lived in a monastery for 12 years. Am I correct?
Well remembered, very well remembered.
And was it in Bhutan or Mongolia?
Bentong. Much less exotic. I wish it was in Bhutan or Mongolia.
Yeah, sorry, I got that
All good.
wrong. So you lived in a monastery for 12 years. How old were you back then, if you don't mind me asking?
I entered when I was 23, and then I left when I was 34, 35. Yeah, 34, 35. Yeah.
Can I ask, what was the motivation for you to join a monastery? Yeah.
So, it goes like way back. Like my parents were Buddhist, and they connected with our teacher. His name is His Eminence Tsem Rinpoche. So they connected with him when I was 11, and they connected with him in India. So my parents were very, very involved with his activities in Malaysia. So I kind of grew up under that umbrella. And then when I was 16, I started volunteering myself. And then I moved away to England to study and to work. And the opportunity when I was living there, it arose for me to actually work full-time for the monastery. So they asked me to join their publishing house as an author, and also to work with publishing houses in London.
Wow. So
I was like, yeah, I mean, sounds fantastic. I get to continue living in London. I've got my life here already. I get to do work that I believe in. So I was like, yeah, sure, sign me up, So I joined lah. And then they were like, hey, as your first assignment, go to China to do a book on Buddhist architecture. And I was like, sick. Like, okay, I'm down for that. Like free travel, why not?
Yeah.
So I went to China, and then one thing led to another. From China, I ended up back in Malaysia. And then from there, I just joined full time. Like, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And I got into it.
So basically, you're working for the monastery.
Yeah.
I see.
We have many different departments under the monastery. Publishing house. There's a branch that deals with animals. We have a soup kitchen. The soup kitchen itself is non-religious, so it's completely like free from any faith. Because our teacher's belief is that when you X-ray the stomach of a hungry person, you don't see race, color, religion. You just see an empty stomach, right? So we feed everyone regardless of their background. Of course, we have the spiritual side of things. So yeah, many, many different departments. So I joined under the publishing department. I think because I was in an international school for 13 years, studied in the UK. So they were like, writing, you go and write books. So I was like, okay, sure. Yeah.
So you live in the monastery. Like, what was life there? Like, do you have to adhere to very strict rules? So,
So for most people, it really, honestly, I know this isn't the answer most people want to hear, but it really depends on how involved do you want to be. Like some people just, like, they're living in the monastery, but just come and go, like regular stuff. Then some people are like, like overachieving gung ho, like, let's go all the way. Let's shave let's shave our head and, like be on the journey to become a nun or a monk.
Yeah.
And that was me. But you can be as involved or not involved as you want to be. And there are many, many different roles, many different levels, many different ways that people can get involved. Yeah.
And you mentioned that your parents are like devout Buddhists, and they're very encouraging for you to take that journey.
Not.
Okay. Okay. So there's a story.
There is some backstory.
Okay.
When I was 16 and I started volunteering, one of the opportunities that arose for me was to travel to India on pilgrimage. Yeah. So we went to India and we went to a nunnery in South India. And when I stepped in there, I was like, oh, this is where I want to be, So I texted, back then no WhatsApp. Because I'm old. So back then no WhatsApp. So I SMS my teacher and I was like, I would like to request for permission to actually be ordained now and enter the nunnery now on this trip, like right now.
Yeah.
And in all of Rinpoche's wisdom, my teacher's wisdom, he said, come back to Malaysia and let's talk about it first.
Okay.
And I was like, but like kind of like the stage was set. From 16, like my parents kind of already knew that that's the direction I wanted to head in. And then over the years, I continued to make requests to become a nun. And then when the final request was accepted, I think it was my third request. My parents, I guess, were not, even though they're Buddhist, were not necessarily, prepared for the acceptance. Yeah. So I would say that, because they were not prepared, like it took them by surprise, that I hadn't discussed it with them beforehand, that third request. Actually, they didn't talk to me for about 3 months.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But after that, it was fine. Like they explained that basically they were surprised. They were like, taken aback. So I was like, okay, yeah, fair enough. Like that's a legitimate, because you have observed your daughter being very involved for so many years, but when that moment comes and it's like, of course, parents will still be a bit surprised now. Yeah. So I get where they're coming from.
Understood.
Yeah.
What about like your friends? How did they react when you decided to move into the monastery and work there?
My friends were curious. They were very supportive, I would say. Curiously supportive, because it's not something that I hide, right? Actually, recently, sorry to divert a little bit.
It's okay.
Recently I got told this story by this girl that I was in primary school with. And she said that she joined school in the middle of, like, kind of like, after the school year had already started. So basically everyone already had, their kawan and their groups and everything, right? And then she was new, so she was like a bit nervous and confused. And then she said that, like, I came up to her. I don't remember this at all, by the way. But she said, like, I came up to her and then I said, hi, what's your name? And then apparently I started like asking her questions about who she is, where she's from. And then she said, without any prompting, I just started explaining to her my Buddha pendant, which I always wear. And she said, I just started going on and on about it, about what it represents, who gave it to me. And honestly, Hashim, I have zero recollection of this.
Okay.
And she said, like, after the conversation, she felt much better because now she had a friend and she had like some one foot in the door, basically.
Yeah.
But she said, I was like, that's super on brand for me. Like just coming up to someone and like sometimes not really reading the room and then just explaining like the pendant.
Yeah.
So like my friends throughout my life were kind of very aware already that I was going down this path.
Yeah.
So when it happened, they weren't surprised.
Okay.
But they were, I guess, also curious about how, I guess, how involved I would be. Like one of the questions was, are you going to have to shave your head?
Okay.
You know, that kind of thing. Like, do you get to wear clothes? Can you still go out for dinner and lunch? And, you know, like, can you like go to all these social events and stuff? Like, how much of your life is going to change? And yeah, I get where they're coming from, because it's not the traditional, you know, life path for most people. Yeah. So.
Could you go out for dinner?
No. Actually,
no.
no.
Okay.
I guess it is possible at a certain stage, but for the role that I was filling in the monastery, it wasn't that it was disallowed. It was that it wasn't.
It was frowned upon?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't actually possible, because I was my teacher's personal assistant, so I was essentially on call. So it's very difficult to like pergi makan, you know, lepak with your kawan, and then like suddenly someone texts you and like you got to be somewhere else. So it by virtue of circumstance as opposed to choice, it was very, very difficult to have that. Yeah, but it was cool. Like I had plenty of friends in the monastery. I was very busy, so it wasn't like something I necessarily felt like I missed out on when I was there.
What about like having conversation with your friends, maybe through text, email?
Oh yeah, that's totally fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think it's fine.
I just want to ask.
No, I get where you're coming from, because people have this image of like, you know, someone in the monastery like silent, cannot talk lah, cutting off everyone, no technology or whatever.
Yeah.
There are different traditions and schools of Buddhism. So each tradition and each school has a slightly different approach. The motivation remains the same, but the approach is different. So how it manifests is slightly different. So with our tradition, with our school of Buddhism, and with the environment and the work that we were doing, I had Facebook, I had like everything. It was like, it was. Yeah.
When you go through like your feed on Facebook, I think this is like a very important question. Is that, do you feel like, oh man, I've missed out a lot? I mean, my friends are having fun and I'm not, I'm not with them, and maybe you start to question your choice about joining the monastery. Did that ever happen to you?
It would be disingenuous of me to say I never thought about it, but I would say that was maybe like 5% out of the time that I was in the monastery, because I really did and still do believe in the work that I was doing, and I really did and do believe in the reasons for why I was there. But yeah, I mean, you're in your 20s, kan?
Yeah.
So like you're seeing everyone like do certain things. Like for me, having a family and kids and everything, that's never been my path, even from young. So that wasn't something I felt I missed out on. But there were other things lah. Like I was like, oh, dengki lah. Kawan I pergi ke Greece, you know, go to all the islands and stuff, and I'm like, dang, like I want to be doing that, you know. But I mean, I had my opportunities when I was in the monastery. Like I moved to the US for over a year, and I was working there. I moved to Bangkok for a year, and I was working there. Went to Nepal, went many different places, you know. So it wasn't like I was quote unquote deprived of, you know, a lot of the activities that most people would aspire towards. I just went there for different reasons and under different appearance lah. Like, because I memang botak that time, like, botak. I'll send you a picture later.
Yeah, please send me pictures so we can put on our shorts and stuff. Do you still keep in touch with the monastery and the people there?
I do. One or two people I do. And my family are still involved in the sense, like, for example, my sister, she is very, very involved with the soup kitchen arm of the monastery. And it's one of, if I'm not mistaken, one of the largest soup kitchens in Malaysia. It's called Kechara Soup Kitchen.
Kechara.
Yeah. So she's very involved with the operational side of things over there. So yeah, I mean, I do, like, it's not like there's bad blood. It's just, you know, life went in a different direction.
I think, I want to ask you about that, right? So you spent 12 years in the monastery. You're very involved in the work. You really believe in their teachings, in their mission. And then you decided to take a different path. Like, what was the motivation behind that?
Essentially, I wanted to engage with my faith and my belief in a different way. And also, like, I think, how to say this? Like, I kind of felt like maybe my time was up for that particular moment. Like, I'm not discounting that I will return in the future.
Yeah.
But like for that particular moment, for my mindset at that particular time, I felt like things had changed. One of also the main reasons why I was in the monastery, actually the main reason why I was in the monastery was because of my teacher.
Yep.
Rinpoche, that I mentioned before.
Yep.
I was there actually for him. And Rinpoche passed away in 2019. So like kind of like my main motivation for being there, is no longer there. So I was like, okay, if I kind of want to look beyond this, maybe now is the time, like still fairly young at 35, like, go have a look and see what else is out there. So yeah, I mean, it felt like it was time at that moment lah. Yeah.
But what was it like when you finally got out of monastery and then you have to figure out what to do? Like, I couldn't imagine that. For me also, like right now I'm planning to move to a new country.
Yeah.
I'm like already freaking out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't imagine. Like, what was it like?
Okay, so I have this, I don't know whether you will call it a shortcoming or you'll call it a good quality, but I have this habit of making big decisions sometimes and then like I'll figure it out later. When things go wrong, like I will know how I'll deal with it at that time, right? Because again, best laid plans never really come to complete fruition,
correct.
right? So I was thinking like, I mean, that happens a lot with my current adventuring too. Like, I'll make decisions to go on certain trips, and after I booked it, I'm like, oh, why did I do that?
Very spontaneous.
Yeah. So, I mean, leaving was a split-second decision, and then, like, I think because it was kind of leading up to that moment already. So, leaving was a very quick decision. But then, what happened after that? I was terrified. I tell you, like, I was terrified because I essentially didn't have a job.
Yep.
I didn't have a place to stay.
Yep.
I didn't have a community, or like I was basically losing my community. I was losing my identity that I had built up over 12 years. Like I was just like, what am I going to do next? So yeah, I was really, really, really terrified, and also dealing with the guilt of leaving. Because I had made promises to stay and now I wasn't able to keep those promises.
Yeah.
So it was like a lot of stuff that was going through my head at the time. I just came out and then I thought, okay, you know what? Let's not think about this too much for now.
Yeah.
Let's just take one day at a time. Okay, so I kind of like thought, how do I want to approach this? And my first thought was, okay, I spent 12 years saying no to everything. Every time someone ajak me to go makan or whatever, go here, that, I always said no because I was afraid that I would have to cancel on them. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to afford whatever reason I would say no. So I was like, okay, you know what? Tak ada hal. I will, for the next 4 months, I will say yes to everything that comes my way. Doesn't matter if it makes me feel a bit weird or whatever. Just say yes first and then figure it out later. Kan? So I was like, Jom, you want to go surfing? Jom. You want to go and like go watch a movie at 11 a.m. in the morning? Jom. Like just everything that came out, I said yes. And I was like, because I need to break through this fear mindset. I can't do it, And then after 4 months, I was like, okay, a friend of mine, she joked at the time. She said, you are the busiest person on sabbatical I've ever seen. And I was like,
just trying to squeeze everything.
Like catch up, play catch up for the last 12 years. And then after 4 months, I was like, okay, you know what? Now it's time to like get a bit serious about things, like figure out a place to like stay for the long term, figure out a job, whatever. And then that's when I really started panicking because I was like, oh God, who's going to hire someone who lived in a monastery for 12 years? Like, how do I explain this to anybody? Like people will be like, oh, what skills do you have? You know how to pray. I'm like, you know how? So I was like, okay, you know what? Okay, this should not stop me because at the end of the day, I still need to pay rent.
Yes. So unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's getting higher now.
Exactly. And I was like, okay, I can't take this lying down. Like I need to get up and fight, right? So I was like, okay, you know what, tak apa. I'm going to go and ask every single person I know, which wasn't that many because actually the 12 years that I had been in the monastery, not keeping up with friendships and stuff. Like, I tak ada kawan, so like, I had to really start from scratch. So I was like, okay, tak apa. I go and ask one by one, every person I know, if you have a project, let me get involved. You don't have to pay me. I just want to figure out what it is I can do, what my skills are, what my interest is. Just let me get involved. So started like that lah, like one by one. And then at one point, I was like, hey, I have a kawan that I met when I was in the monastery. Let me just hit him up and see what he's up to. So I texted, this fella, and I said, hey, I'm in KL, like, let's catch up. And he was like, what are you doing in KL? So I was like, it's a long story. I'll tell you over coffee, right? So we met up, and then he said, oh, well, since you are here and you have time and blah, 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 I'm shooting a music video in 2 weeks. And I need an assistant director. Like, so why don't you come along? And I was like,
wow.
Assistant director? I was like, I said yes first. I was like, sure, okay, I'll do it. And then then I ran home and I quickly Googled, what does an assistant director do? Because I really didn't know. I was like, assistant director, what apa? Like, what's the job description? Quickly read, and then I texted him and I was like, yeah, sure, send me the details. Turned up on set for the music video, and I was the most like quiet person ever. Like, when like one of the things is like doing time check and making sure that, we get all the shots we need and the movement is correct and all that, right? And I was on the walkie-talkie and I was like, time check 10 a.m. Like super soft. You hear everyone going, what? What did you say? What did you say, Jean? Like, time check 10 a.m. And then after that shoot, the director came and he said, actually, I think you have what it takes to do this. Like, there are certain things about your personality that make you very suited for being a producer.
Oh.
So I was like, he's like, you want to give it a shot? And I was like, yeah. Next time you have a project, just hit me up. And then that's actually how it started. So that guy that I ended up texting to lepak and catch up turned out to be my director now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like like terrified, like completely terrified the whole time. And like, okay, survival instinct kicks in, right? And then I just try. Like, worst thing people can say is say no. They'll say no to me, and then I'll just move on to the next person, right?
Yeah.
And if I don't ask, it's 100% no. So just ask,
I just want to segue a bit because, when I'm using threads, I'm always engaging with posts about careers, especially in Malaysia, relating to, people finding it very difficult to find jobs these days, especially new graduates. I think that is one of the tricks, right? You just have to put yourself out there, meet people, ask questions, network. That will definitely help you in the long run. Because for me, so like I'm in the digital commerce. I wasn't from digital commerce. I actually studied accounting.
Oh. That is a big pivot.
Big pivot. But I've always been interested in like the tech world, especially like I'm a millennial. Growing up, you see like Facebook, the startup culture.
Yeah.
So I've never had any interest in accounting. Actually, it was something that my parents wanted me to do. It's fine. I did it. I think I did the best that I could, and but I got an opportunity to be part of like the digital commerce company, and it's because someone saw something in me and gave me a chance.
Yeah,
I think if you look at it, the common thread in terms of success in career is always like somebody giving you a chance.
Exactly.
Yeah. And for you, so was it like difficult trying to learn the ropes when you finally got the job?
It was a lot. Not gonna lie, it was a lot of Googling. Like, what does a producer?
Google. You don't need a degree, just Google your friend.
I was Googling and like, I figured out the two most important qualities about this is actually not being afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
And also not being afraid to apologize when you get things wrong. Because people are very, very, very forgiving when your apology is sincere. Like, I screwed up. I'm so sorry. Like, please tell me how I can fix this so it doesn't happen again in the future. If you actually take the time to ask, and when people teach you, you take the time to absorb it and to apply it, they'll be okay. Like, maybe marah sikit lah, but usually like after that they'll be fine. If they see that you're sincere.
Yeah.
So like, there was a lot of Googling, but there was also a lot of asking for help. Like, hey, I have no idea how to do this. Can you please tell me? Like, because I want to learn, like I want to learn what is necessary to make your job smoother. I want to learn what I can improve on to make things go more smoothly. Like, it's all about learning, right?
Yeah.
If you're gonna walk into an environment and you be like, no, I know everything.
Yeah.
There's nothing left for me to know and nothing left for me to learn. You can't teach me anything. If I don't want to work with someone like that, why would people want to work with somebody like
Correct.
that? Then?
Yeah. I've learned through my own career that sometimes when you're in trouble, you just have to admit it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done my bullshitting before. It never work out.
Oh wait, I can sweat? Sweet.
Yeah, you can.
I've been like, oh.
No, you can.
Don't use the word, like fuck up. Just say
No, you can. Yes,
Okay.
please. We are not censoring anything.
Okay, sweet.
And it's like this podcast is usually we don't cut anything. We only cut like the beginning and also like the end because it kind of overrun sometimes. But you're free to say anything, please. Please say all the words that are in here, and you just want to let it out.
There's that shirt, right? I don't know if you've seen the shirt before with the slogan. It's like, sometimes like I open my mouth and the words that run out get me into trouble, something like that. And I'm like, no.
Please feel free. But what was it like when you joined We Are Kix? I mean, you're still green in a way, and you have to deal with the crews, and do they look at you like, hey, what does this girl know, and why is she like giving me directions because you're a producer? Does that happen? Did that happen?
Okay, so honestly, no.
Okay.
Actually, that never happened.
Oh, that's great.
Because every single person that we work with, like I was saying earlier, like we were talking about everybody has to win, right?
Yeah.
So like even the crew that we work with are super nice guys. Like really, really nice, really professional guys. And if I don't understand something and I ask them, they won't be like, Jean, you're the producer, how come you don't know? They'll be like, oh, really? You don't know? Oh, let me show you.
Wow.
They're really nice guys. And everybody tries their best. So like it's funny. It's funny. What is funny is actually they sometimes share with me stories from other productions, and then they're like, I can't believe you're a producer. And I'm like, why? And then they're like, because everyone else with me are assholes. I'm like, oh, why? And then you're like, oh, they're really like fastidious about, like calculative about money and blah, blah, or like they don't treat the crew well, they don't talk nicely to them or whatever. And I'm like, but why? Like, I don't, for me, maybe there's a reason behind their methods,
Correct.
But for me personally, I don't feel like there's nothing I can accomplish with making someone feel crappy that I cannot accomplish by talking to them nicely.
Correct.
And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. No hard feelings.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to be have any animosity towards each other.
Yeah.
We just don't work together in the future. You go your way, that's it. Macam tu. Someone told me, they were like, wow, you give us really good food on shoot. And I was like, I know.
You belanja them?
No, it's not. It's part of the budget, kan?
Okay.
So like doing shoots, like I will organize like bakery, whatever, like good food. Because to me, it's a long day. I want to feed my crew well, because if I were in their position doing something very physical, I want to make sure that they're happy and they are nourished and they're not, eating crap, like whatever. And then he was like, hey, you brought some mini croissants with blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, why? I was like, and he's like, hey, the last shoot I was in, they had us plain white rice with stir-fried cabbage.
Oh, man.
And I was like,
that's like prison food, no disrespect though.
Bro, like, yeah. And you're paying these guys to like stand there for like 10 to 12 hours a day with all this equipment, with the lights and everything, and you're giving them cabbage and rice. I was like, in my head immediately I thought, Kix will never do that. We will never ever do that, because without these guys, without our crew,
correct,
you can't produce anything. So they will be the last people that I'm looking to mistreat.
Yeah.
Nanti kena sambal dan how. Like,
what's your favorite to have on the set? Like the favorite food?
Okay, this is going to sound terrible, but honestly, hummus.
Yeah, I saw on your IG. I mean, we can promote. She makes hummus. Everyone wants hummus. Yeah.
I'm not saying that for that reason. I'm saying genuinely it's about, it's very filling. I don't need to refrigerate it for so long. High protein.
Yes.
And fiber, I can eat with vegetables. The best part about it is I can constantly eat, right? I can graze. Like for me, sometimes it's very hard to find a moment when I can sit down and makan.
Yeah.
So like I'm constantly like, whenever I get a moment, I
makan.
Yeah, I makan lah. So I just like from my desk, I take and then run away, do something else, come back, makan, and run. So it's a very convenient food for me. Yeah. But for me personally, I like hummus lah.
Okay, maybe I should order one from you. So you got a customer today.
Sweet. Thank you.
I want to connect with you on the topic of film because I think that's how we got connected on Threads, right? Are you like a film buff?
Yeah, I am. I would say so there are some people who like, they know this director did this work and blah, blah, blah. I'm not to that level. I'm just like, I really, really enjoy it. There are some things that I really enjoy and there's some things that I look out for in films that are very important to me, It goes to that extent. Or I'll watch a film twice because I'm watching the first time for something and then second time to enjoy. Like, I'll do it that way. But like there's some people, they're like, they know this person did this in this year and this is their start. That's not me.
Okay.
And I would like to get to that stage, but I don't have the attention span for it.
Understood. And We Are Kix never got the chance to work on like a feature film, not yet.
We've done short films before, but that's not really something that we specialize in. So like, it wouldn't be fair, actually, honestly, for someone to pay us to do something that is not our specialty, because then neither side gets, it would. That is not to say we wouldn't do it if an interesting project came up, but we still want to produce something we are proud of and also something that the client would be proud of. So we have done short films in the past, but it's not something that we regularly do.
Understood.
Yeah. Also, because the funding for it doesn't tend to be that fantastic, if I'm being honest.
And I think we connected on the topic of film industry in Malaysia. Like, you don't feel like it can match up like the level of South Korea. We can have like a small take on this.
I feel like there are certain things in our current environment that make it very challenging for people to be fully creative and to produce films that at the speed, at the rate, and at the quality of industries in other countries. Like Bollywood movies, the speed at which they produce a movie, but the quality of it, it's mind-blowing, it's incredible, right? Even I would say Nollywood, Korea, Japan, all these places, the kind of the movies that they produce, the creativity, the storytelling, the topics, the acting, the casting, the color grading, the sound, everything is just like at another level. And that comes with a lot of infrastructural support. For the distribution channels to be there, for the funding to come from the studios, from certain topics that they're allowed to cover, certain, that kind of that going down that road, So I find that, like in terms of the environment, it's not necessarily the most supportive in Malaysia. I think it could be better, But I also do think that there are people who are like if you look at our commercial work, there are some people who are incredibly creative, right? And they can stand, toe to toe with anyone else around the world. They just need to be given the opportunity to do something that's much longer, that's feature length, that they can engage with without having to worry about the financial or the social cultural implications of it. Just have a free hand at doing it, and then I think things would really grow.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, especially when you look at there are few works in Malaysia, for example, like The One Centif, which is gaining more acclaim, and even people saying that it could go toe to toe with, your Netflix originals.
Yeah.
But maybe we're just not yet we're not there yet because of the lack of infrastructure, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I just want to segue a bit to talk about one of the things that you do, which is the long walks, right? Which I find it to be really interesting. So you do this thing called Camino.
Yeah.
Can you just briefly explain what Camino is?
Okay. So Camino is a collection or a series of pilgrimage routes in Europe. They have many different starting points all over Europe, and they all end up at Santiago de Compostela in Spain. Northwest Spain. Northwest Spain. So there's routes that start in France, there's routes that start within Spain itself, and there are routes that start in Portugal. So the one that I did most recently in October 2024 was the Camino de Santiago, starting from Porto, and I followed the coastal route. So I walked from Porto in Portugal to Santiago in Spain. Yeah.
How long was that?
Took me 11 days, and it was 320 kilometers.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Wait, officially 280, but actually 320 because I got lost.
Is that like kind of walking to Ipoh from KL or a bit further, right? If I'm
To Penang.
Penang. Oh, damn. And what was it like? Was it like super duper like challenging physically or?
I will say that it was life changing. Physically very demanding, but it was life changing. One of the things that I would do over and over again, and it changed my perspective on a lot of things, a lot of things. And I really enjoyed myself. Like, because of what happened on the Camino, then I went on to do other long walks after that. Like the one I did immediately after that was actually in Malaysia. I walked from Kuala Selangor to Teluk Intan.
How long was that?
That was 100 kilometers.
Oh.
Yeah.
And what about the road, the route? Like, was there like a proper road to? Yeah.
Okay, so
I think because Malaysia, like,
we come into a topic I'm very passionate about, which is the lack of walkable surfaces in our country, our beautiful country.
Yeah.
It completely surprised me so much that there was enough walkable surface in Europe for me to walk from one country to another. There were some roads here and there, but it was not dangerous. It was not walking by the highway, you know. Contrast that to the one from Kuala Selangor to Teluk Intan. I mean, there were times we were walking on the highway and there's like lorries coming by us, that kind of thing. So it took a bit of finessing and a bit of strategizing to get onto a safer route and like to walk through plantations and stuff. But it was a very different experience walking here. And I mean, you read about it online all the time, don't you? Like people talking about how our first mile and last mile connectivity needs a lot of improvement and our public transport systems are there, but it's very hard to access and all that kind of thing. I lived that for 100 kilometers from. It was so funny. Like when we started out Hashim, we like after the first 10 km, we stopped to makan cendol, of course. You know.
Okay, that break is not that demand. I mean, it's demanding, but you can have breaks as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Then we got into the stall, and then the kakak was like, "Dek, pergi mana? Where you going?" And I was like, "Oh, kita jalan kaki ke Teluk Intan." And then she's like, "Dek, you tahu ada bus percuma kan?" And I was like, "Yeah, I tahu." You know, like, she's like, why are you doing this? Kenapa? She's like, cuti Malaysia ke? And I was like, yalah, kita bosan kat KL.
Wow.
That kind of thing.
So you're bored, just walk to Teluk Intan, that's it.
Yeah. And then we got to Teluk Intan, and then everyone was like, korang dari Malaysia, local lah? And I was like, yeah, we're local. She's like, kenapa jalan kaki? And I was like, dude, like, you know, it's such a foreign concept for us to walk. Like, and I was like, but Malaysia is so beautiful. Like, you know, people come here. Like, you have to imagine, like, you know, tourists come here and then they're like, this is different for them, you know, like, and we take it for granted how beautiful our country is. We're always thinking, nak pergi Australia, nak pergi Europe, and that kind of thing. And there's so much in Malaysia. We have mountains, we have beaches, you know, we've got outdoor sports, we've got water. Like, there's so many opportunities available to us, and we just don't think about accessing it. But walking is such a fantastic way of seeing parts of Malaysia that you normally, if you're in a car, you just drive right by it.
True.
Right? You're not connecting with people because you just focus on getting to the destination. I love walking. Like, really love walking.
But you've never walked, like, prior to your Camino, you've never done something like that before, like long walks, right? Like, how do you find the strength to do it and the resilience? Yeah, I mean, it must be like incredible.
The half joking, half serious answer is spite. Like, like I was like, I'm gonna finish this out of spite because I already paid for the plane ticket. And I'm gonna finish it. No, but honestly, also, like, I learned about the Camino from a reality TV show that I watched many years ago. Then it came up again when I saw it on Instagram. I saw a reel from someone, a girl who walks it solo. So I was like, oh, You know, I heard about this before. Then I spoke about it with another friend. He was talking about his dream being the Camino. So I was like, oh, like 3 times, it can't be a coincidence. I should do it. So no, I had never done a long walk before the Camino. I just decided like, hey, I like Spain, I like Portugal. You know, like it's flat and like essentially if you boil it down to its very like core essence, it's just left, right. It's one foot in front of the other, right?
Yeah.
So like if you just think, if I just put one more foot forward, I'm one step closer to my destination. Don't think about like it's 300 kilometers away, because that will freak you out.
Correct.
But I can walk there. I can walk to that tree. I can walk to that rock. Yeah. After a while, the miles start to go by very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I've applied the same concept when I was doing my marathon.
Oh.
But it was just 42.5.2 or something like that.
You say that, right? I would never do a marathon.
Really?
I hate running. Like, so I ran to train for the walk.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, like, mad respect. Like, seriously, I like the idea of running for 42 km, I'm like, nope. But he told me walk 42 km, I'm like, sure.
Yeah, I think it would be easier. But trying to beat the time, and I had like a what do you call my leg, what do you call cramp? A cramp leg. On the 15th kilometer, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh my God, so you like it was like
I was limping the whole way to 42.
You had like 60% left to go with a
something like that.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and I was like running out of time. I finished the last 10 minutes. I was like, I need to finish it because or else I wouldn't get the medal. It wouldn't mean anything. So yeah, I just limped through the pain.
Yeah.
I had to go through like Duke Highway, Jalan Ipoh.
Oh my gosh.
And,
See that thing, right, where like you ask study about how do I motivate myself?
Yeah.
I booked my flight.
Oh, okay.
Like, so I had to get like
True.
my whole crook, I gotta get there because I can't afford another flight back. I can't afford a new ticket.
Yeah, true.
So that works. I wouldn't recommend it. But the anxiety of meeting 10-minute thing, like you're like,
oh yeah, I was just like limping. I was just pushing myself. I didn't care about like if I injured myself, to be honest, at the time.
What?
And it wasn't that bad. I had like quite a bad cramp, but I think it went away on the 2nd or 3rd day.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know if I want to do it again. Maybe one day. But people are talking about like half Ironman and stuff.
No, I'm good. Yeah, I cycle, I swim, and I run, right? And people are like, oh, you're at the age now where you start doing triathlons.
Yes.
Nope.
Why not?
No, I'm good. For me, it's like more like I cycle like Santai. Like I like to cycle to relax. I run to train for the walks. I swim because I want to get a tan.
Oh, okay.
You know, true story. So like the idea of like competing for something, I understand how people get a sense of achievement from that, but it's not really my thing lah.
Understood.
Yeah.
I think you need to put yourself under like a huge pressure, and I think the training is also quite rigorous.
Yeah.
If you want to become like a Ironman, because there's like half Ironman and a full Ironman.
No, I'm
even
good.
half also no.
No, I'm good. Oh, okay lah. To be fair, never say never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe start with. I think there's one like an easier version of Ironman called Powerman or something.
I'm good. I'm so good.
Maybe one day, you say never. And yeah, I think we're going to wrap up because we don't have much time, but I really had good time talking to you. But I just want to ask you, like, what are the like key lessons that you've picked up from your monastery days and maybe from your Camino that you wish Malaysians would understand more, or maybe they themselves would pick up someday? Yeah.
That's a really good question. I would say that saying no to yourself cuts off a lot of opportunities before you even get the chance to explore them, because you never know what you're capable of. Like there was an analogy that my teacher in the monastery gave us about how our mind is like a river. And it's constantly flowing very smoothly. But each time we say, no, I cannot, I do not want to, we're throwing a rock into the river and we're stopping that flow of water. So we never really truly achieve our full potential. And I would say that lesson has some overlap with the Camino. Like or with the Kumano that I did after that. It's that if you keep telling yourself no, you're never going to get to where you want to go. And in life, you don't necessarily know where you will end up. But if you don't take that first step, you're not going to find out what that result is going to be for you. So you need to take the first step. Just focus on what's in front of you. I would say that that's one of the lessons, that I learned. And another one being that there's more than one way to get to your destination, right? And with the Camino, there's, many different routes to reach Santiago de Compostela. And within the monastery, like what I also learned is that, a person may have a story, but how you want to bring that benefit of the teachings or the help or the assistance to them can come in many, many different forms. It's not necessarily the form that you immediately think is the best way possible. So it takes a bit of creativity to get there. But if you care enough about something and you care enough about delivering that benefit, you will put in the effort and the time into thinking of a different solution, a different way. And I think, honestly, sincerity goes a long way. Being kind goes a long way. It doesn't cost you anything.
Yep.
And how other people want to be, that's completely up to them. But what is most important is how you as a person respond and react to it. You can't control everyone else. You can't control how they think or what they say, how they view things, but you can control yourself. And you can make the decision and make a choice to show kindness to them all the time. So I would say that is actually also something I learned on the Camino. Like people are sitting there with blisters and whatever, and you show kindness because and you do what is needed at that time for them. And it makes everyone feel better. You don't lose anything from it. So
I wish I could just stand up and give you like a round of applause.
No.
Wise words from a very, very wise woman. So yeah, and what, if you don't mind me asking, what is next for Jin Ai? Especially for this year, it's a new year.
Oh God.
What are the challenges that await you in 2025?
Okay, so currently in conversation, I'm not sure if kalau sempat tak, but it's planning to walk to Annapurna Base Camp.
Wow.
In September. Yeah. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to be cycling in Taiwan. I wish I could say cycling around Taiwan, but it's in Taiwan. So yeah, that Annapurna. And I'm planning at some point to walk the longest route of the Camino, which is 680 kilometers. But that one takes like a month.
Where is that?
From France to Spain.
Yeah.
So that's planning lah. Like to be fair, I have a very long bucket list of walks. Okay, like Pacific Crest Trail, Appalachian Trail. Like I really like walking. So yeah. Oh, there's one I want to do from Chiang Mai to Chiang Rai.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but this year itself, so far, Taiwan and Annapurna.
That's my dream also, Annapurna.
Yeah.
But it's like quite cold, and I think you have to be acclimatized to the oxygen level, right? Was it?
You know what? To me, pay the deposit first and figure out.
Oh, no. Actually, that's a good way of doing things, right? Like you want to do it, just go for it.
Yeah, commit.
And figure out later.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, like, kalau tak pergi, rugi kan? So like,
Betul.
So just pay the deposit and then figure out later.
Yeah. So I think I learned a lot from you today. I think our viewers also going to learn a lot if you watch this podcast episode. And your IG profile is on public, right?
Yeah, it is.
Your handle?
Jean I, Jeanai.
Yeah, because I think if you go there, you're going to see like, oh, wow, this woman is just incredible. Like she's doing all this crazy stuff and her life story is so inspiring. And I really, really thank you for being part of this show today and sharing your story. Not many people have the bravery to do that. Sometimes, I ask my friends or my colleagues that they have like, maybe their life is not as interesting as you, but they don't want to open up and stuff. Yeah. But thank you so much for your bravery.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it for today.
Okay.
I'm really happy to be speaking with Jin Ai, and I hope to return soon, hopefully with Imran on, I don't know, some other topic. We'll see. We'll figure it out. We'll book first and then we'll figure it out.
Exactly, commit.
Yeah, just commit. All right. Thank you everyone. Thank